So now we're going to look at collisions a little bit further. What we want to have happen is this giraffe comes and collides with the monkey, and then they both move off screen together, meaning it looks like a push. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to use that same if statement, and if our giraffe is touching. And what is it touching? Well, if it's touching our monkey. So if the giraffe is touching that monkey, then I open up my brackets for the if statement. What do I want to do? I want to set the monkey's velocity on that same x-axis equal to that of the giraffe's, which is 1. So now when you see we run this, when that giraffe collides with the monkey or is touching, there actually isn't a collision. It's just when they're touching, you can see that their areas don't the collision zones overlap outside the actual image. So we get that's why even they appear not to be touching. So if we come over to the next one, it's asking us to have the elephant push the hippo off. And we're going to run that same thing, but this time on the y-axis. So we're going to say if our, well, let's set this up again. If our elephant is touching, let's get that back so I can use this, is touching, and this is our hippo. I'm going to open up my bracket for my if statement. And what do I want to have happen? I want my hippo's velocity on the y-axis to equal my elephant's velocity on the y-axis. So again, this is just a different way of writing that same program that we saw before by setting their velocities equal to each other. Now when you see that it's run, they go at that same velocity, and the reason that I've chosen to write it there, because the random velocity at the start of this, meaning the elephant will either go from -1 to -3. So if we just put in a -3, they wouldn't be at the same speed. So if we look at the next one, because sprites interact or collide with something, there's actually a block for this, and it's called sprite displace. So if this line of coding, so as the animation starts, the hippo displaces the elephant, but because we wanted the elephant to displace the hippo on this error, it's simply just changing our variables here, elephant here and hippo, to get the desired effect that they're asking for in this. But the way this block works is the exact same way that we've used that if statement, but instead of writing that entire if statement out, we can see it can be done in a single line of code. Now, if we move on to bubble 6, we're going to see that there's a bunch of other different ways: collide, bounce, and bounce off. So what they're saying is, or just want you to experiment on this one, is what happens if we say collide here. So we're going to use that collide with the penguin. If we run the program now, when we say collide, we can see that it works very similar to that displace. If we do here and we put in bounce, we can run that same piece of code. If the pair bounces, we can see them going off in opposite directions. And then if we do the next piece of code, which is bounce off, we can see the one bounces off while the other one continues to move. So we have these 4 different sprite interactions now that we can use. So now that we have a general understanding, if you go to bubble 7, you're going to want to do multiple of these collisions so you can get used to doing all of them. And then as you move on to bubble 8, they're going to ask you to do all the collisions on each of these different sprites. I'm also going to do a video on how to change your collision zone and the bounce reaction rate of it as well.